A tragic shooting in Minnesota has reignited an urgent national conversation, one that cuts far beyond crime scenes and into the very foundation of our digital lives. According to investigators, the suspect in this case used data broker websites to find the home addresses of his victims. This wasn't a breach, a hack, or a high-tech cyber attack. It was a simple search, legal, inexpensive, and disturbingly easy. In this video, we're going to unpack how this happened. We'll explain what data brokers are, how they gather your personal information, and how they sell it to just about anyone. We'll break down how this case reveals the dark underside of online data collection, and what it means for your safety, your privacy, and the laws that are supposed to protect both. If your name, address, or phone number is online, and it likely is, this story affects you more than you think. Let's start with the basics. What exactly are data brokers? At their core, data brokers are companies whose entire business model revolves around collecting, analyzing, and monetizing personal information. We're not just talking about your name and phone number. We're talking about deep profiles, your home address, email, family members, income range, political preferences, shopping habits, medical interests, browser history, and even your recent app usage. In many ways, they know more about you than you realize, and in some cases, more than your closest friends. These brokers don't operate in the shadows. Some of the biggest names, LexisNexis, Axiom, and Experian, are household brands or quietly embedded into business and government services. But there's an entire second tier of smaller, more obscure companies, hundreds of them, that make up the backbone of what privacy advocates call the surveillance economy. These players often operate with little transparency, and many exist solely to buy and sell human data to the highest bidder. Their clients range from legitimate businesses to debt collectors, political campaigns, and even private individuals running background checks. The question is, how does this personal data even end up in their hands? The answer lies in the sheer volume of data trails we leave behind every day. Think about every online form you've ever filled out: email subscriptions, product registrations, customer surveys, giveaways. Every time you accept cookies on a website, every location check-in, every purchase made with a loyalty card, that's data being harvested. You may think it stays with that company, but in many cases, it's quietly resold or shared with third-party aggregators, data brokers. But it doesn't stop there. A significant chunk of this information comes from public records and government databases. Voter registration lists, real estate records, marriage licenses, court documents, and even some DMV records are all considered public or semi-public, depending on your state. That means they're legally accessible and can be vacuumed up by brokers without notifying you. And once it's out there, it's nearly impossible to take back. What makes this ecosystem especially problematic is the lack of oversight. In the United States, there's no comprehensive federal law that limits what data brokers can collect or how they must protect it. There's no requirement to notify you that your data has been sold. There's often no clear way to see what they have on you or to remove it. That means your personal history, your preferences, even your movements could be part of a file passed from company to company, bought and sold again and again, without your knowledge or consent. This data isn't just used for advertising. It can influence what job offers you receive, what interest rate you get, and even how much you pay for insurance. And as the Minnesota case shows, it can also fall into dangerous hands. When detailed profiles are made available to the public without restrictions, it opens a door, not just for marketers, but for stalkers, scammers, and in the worst cases, violent actors. Let's take a closer look at the Minnesota case, the incident that brought the risks of data brokers into national focus. On May 3rd, 2025, a quiet neighborhood in Minnesota was rocked by gunfire. A man allegedly opened fire, injuring several individuals. But what made this event even more disturbing was how the suspect may have located his victims, not through hacking, surveillance, or inside access, but by using legal data broker websites. According to police, the suspect accessed publicly available people finder platforms to search for the victims' names and retrieve their personal information. These services, often marketed as tools for reconnecting with friends or running background checks, provide full names, addresses, phone numbers, and even relatives' names for just a few dollars, or sometimes for free. Investigators say the shooters simply entered names, reviewed the details, and drove to those addresses. No complicated tech, no breaking and entering, just the use of a system that legally monetizes personal data. This ease of access, enabled by a virtually unregulated industry, is what stunned both privacy experts and law enforcement alike. This isn't the first time these platforms have been linked to harm. In recent years, similar data broker services have been involved in stalking cases, identity theft, harassment, and now, targeted violence. They make it frighteningly easy for someone with bad intentions to track down nearly anyone. The broader concern is not just about one case, but about the system that allows it. Should it be legal for companies to sell home addresses without consent? Should there be limits on who can buy this data and how it's used? Right now, in the US, there's no comprehensive federal law protecting individuals from these practices. These platforms are not breaking the law. They're operating within it. That's the problem. As long as this data trade remains legal and unregulated, anyone with a search bar and a motive can access your most personal details. This case wasn't just a tragedy, it was a warning. A sign that until policy catches up with technology, these tools will continue to enable real-world consequences. In 2023, Mozilla's research team reviewed dozens of these people finder sites. They found that many make it intentionally difficult to opt out. Some require ID verification. Others bury opt-out links behind broken pages or intentionally vague instructions. A handful even charge a fee to remove your data, essentially profiting from your desire to protect your privacy. And that brings us to the heart of the issue. Data brokers operate in a legal gray zone, protected by outdated laws that haven't caught up with the digital economy. Laws like the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Driver's Privacy Protection Act cover only narrow slices of data. Meanwhile, the vast majority of online data collection is unregulated. A few states are trying to step in. California's Consumer Privacy Act, Virginia's Consumer Data Protection Act, and a handful of others aim to give residents more control over their personal information. But enforcement is inconsistent, and most Americans remain vulnerable. Unless you live in one of these states and actively manage your data, you're likely exposed. Let's return to the question of safety. The Minnesota shooting is a chilling example of how the digital economy can bleed into the physical world. What used to be private, your address, your routines, your connections, is now potentially public. In the hands of a criminal, this access becomes a weapon. And the worst part? The system makes it incredibly hard to know just how much of your data is out there or how to remove it. So what can you do? First, awareness is key. Start by Googling yourself. See which data broker or people search sites are listing your information. Sites like White Pages, Spokeo, People Finder, and My Life are common culprits. Use their opt-out processes, even if they're frustrating, and repeat the process every few months. Next, consider using a data removal service. Companies like Delete Me or Privacy Duck will scan the web for your personal info and work to remove it. While these services usually come with a fee, they can save you time and headaches. Also, be mindful of what you share online. Avoid oversharing on social media, especially details like your city, employer, or favorite locations. Be skeptical of forms asking for your phone number, home address, or date of birth, unless absolutely necessary. Finally, contact your representatives. There is growing bipartisan support for stronger data privacy laws in Congress, especially following high-profile incidents like this one. Let them know that data privacy is a priority for you, and that legislation must address the unchecked reach of data brokers. As we move deeper into a digital age, these issues aren't going away. In fact, they're becoming more urgent. Technology will only get better at tracking, profiling, and selling access to our lives. Without safeguards, the risks extend far beyond spam emails and targeted ads. As we've seen in Minnesota, the consequences can be deadly. This story isn't just about one shooter or one website. It's about a system that prioritizes data profits over public safety, and a society that hasn't yet caught up. It's about how vulnerable we all are when our lives are reduced to searchable databases. If we want to live in a digital world that respects safety, consent, and privacy, it's going to take more than policy tweaks. It's going to require a cultural shift in how we treat personal information, who controls it, who profits from it, and what consequences come from exposing it. Thanks for watching Tech on the Mind. If you found this breakdown important, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Stay informed, stay private, and above all, stay safe.